So today I thought I would talk about something I neglected to mention in my last video about the difference between the IPS and the TN screens that are available for the Nintendo 3DS, or the new Nintendo 3DS, I should say. There are in fact two different kinds of screens available. There is this one on the right here has the IPS screen, or the quote unquote better screen. The one on the left has the TN screen, or the original screen. Something like, I don't know, there's not really any statistics about it, but like 90% of new Nintendo 3DSs have the TN screen, and there are a rare few that have the IPS screen. It's sort of generally assumed that the IPS screens came with the later model ones. I believe, and I have no way to confirm this, and I'm not sure, but I've read this online. I believe some of the later special edition new 3DSs all have the IPS screen. I think the Majora's Mask Special Edition one. I think all of those have it. But some of the original standard models do too. This is just a regular black one, and this is a regular red one. I kind of tend to assume this one's a little older, but I bought both of these used, so I have no way to tell when they were made or when they were originally purchased. So I thought for a point of comparison, I would show the differences between the screens using Ocarina of Time 3D. Number one, because the opening cutscene has a very a very good range of color and depth that shows off the real difference in display, but also because it's the only game I happen to own 2 copies of. So I'm going to start up a new game with both of these and show off the opening cutscene. So even through my crappy phone camera, the difference should be fairly obvious. We'll see here in a moment. So right off the bat, you can tell this TN screen, the colors are much more washed out, and it's the blacks, the shadows are not nearly as pronounced as they are on the right. This looks like Link is taking a nap at like 2 p.m., and then this one looks like it's actually night or early morning. It's especially more pronounced in person, but unfortunately my phone camera is the best that I have. But even here you can tell during this stormy scene, it just looks better. I originally, when I started getting into 3DS stuff more, it's like there's a lot of hay made online about the differences between the IPS and the TN screens, and for my money, I really didn't think much of it. I was like, I don't know why you would bother seeking out one over the other. They both play the same games and they do the same thing. After having owned this one for a little while, I gotta say, this looks good. This looks really good. I play it on a new 2DS for most of my 3DS gaming career, up until I acquired a few 3DSs for reasonable prices. And this one I found out later just happens to have an IPS screen. I didn't realize it at the time, and especially when I filmed my last video, I did not realize, because I did not yet have this red one, that I had an IPS screen. I assumed mine was just the regular screen. So up until that point, I was like, well, this screen looks perfectly fine. Why does anybody care about the differences? Well, it turns out there is a pretty big difference if you put it right next to this one. But that's where I'm going with this. If you're looking for one to buy, and you're like, well, should I seek out the IPS screen? Yes, but like there's a catch there, is that I think people weren't really aware of this upgrade until fairly recently, or at least not at a large scale. It's pretty well known now that these have different screens on them. But at this point, I feel like anybody who knows they have an IPS screen and advertises it as such is probably going to ask for a lot more money because they are desirable. And the fact is that a TN screen is perfectly adequate for most games. There are a few varieties of these too, where this one is the single IPS screen, or just the top screen is an IPS, and the bottom one is a TN screen. This one, both screens are TN. There are ones that have both IPS screens on the touchscreen and the regular screen. for my money, the single IPS screen is fine. The bottom screen is like for this game, like they're mostly used for menus on 3DS games, not so much the regular DS where they were doing a lot more like touchscreen stuff. So it's like you don't really need like better color and better depth and better shadows in your bottom screen because it's obscured by this. The touchscreen actually has an extra layer over it too, which kind of naturally is going to dull the picture. So it's like it's nice, but it's like it's not really going to be a substantial improvement over a single IPS screen where you're going to be looking up here, 95% of the time anyway. I will say the IPS screen is definitely an improvement over the TN screen for sure. You can even see just here how much more full the shadows are. So it just sort of looks better overall. The thing is, unless you're playing them really like side by side like this, you're probably never really going to even notice the difference. And you're never going to be playing two 3DSs side by side, so really, who cares? If you happen to buy one and it has a IPS screen, well, good for you. If it doesn't, these are fine. They work. You don't need to go spend an extra $100 or whatever to get one of these, like most people will probably be asking. But then again, most people don't know if they have an IPS screen or not unless they put them right next to each other. I've seen people do stuff online where they're like, well, how do I know if I have an IPS screen? And they go like they do homebrew apps to get in there, and then it'll actually scan the system and tell you if you have an IPS screen. And it's like, if you have to do that much to tell whether your display is better or not, then chances are it's not going to register that much with you unless you put them side by side, which you're never going to do. But I thought for the sake of discussion, I would put them side by side here because I happen to own two 3DSs and 2 copies of Ocarina of Time, so that I could show this off. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's necessary by any means, but yeah, some people asked about it in a previous video. I didn't really have a good answer or a good display, but now I do, so I thought I would show them off. If you have any other questions I can answer. As far as I know, there's no way to tell whether any given model has either kind of screen without looking at them directly. But I've heard that the Majora's Mask Special Edition of the 3DS always has the IPS screen, probably because it's one of the latest models to have come out. But with these generic models, it's really just a crapshoot. You might get one, you might not. I suspect there may be a way to tell from like lot numbers and stuff, but I would need a whole bunch of them to confirm that, and I'm not going to go buy 50 3DSs just to figure it out. So, yeah, hopefully this shows up decently in the video. It is a stark contrast in person, especially even if it shows up here in my crappy phone video. Yeah, if you get one, good for you. If you don't, it's a new 3DS. It's fine. As an aside too, I believe the new 2DS, none of those have the IPS screen that I know of. I've never heard of one having it. So if you want this display, you got to seek out this model. So that'll be all. I'll probably do another video on the 3DS at some point, but I thought this was a frequently asked and pertinent question. So thanks for watching.